What's up, guys? Welcome to a new vlog.
It's been a while. I don't even know when the last time we uploaded.
I mean, I could check on the date it was uploaded, but it's probably been 2 weeks now.
But a lot has happened over the past, I'd say, week
to 2 weeks. It's been, obviously quarantine's stressful for everyone. With Alex being pregnant, we've had like an extra layer of stress on top of that.
Yeah, if you are following me on Instagram, I'm sure you're well aware of what we're going to talk about a little bit, but we're also going to be giving an update. So we haven't really been talking about it much on social media, so this is kind of the place where we're able to just vent a little bit and kind of explain what's been going on in more detail.
We've both been feeling, we talked about it a few days ago, I guess unmotivated is the best term to use, but it doesn't even feel like unmotivated. It just feels like we have
defeated.
Yeah, I get defeated might even be better. We're so, I guess, overwhelmed right now. It feels like vlogging is not something we're thinking about in the forefront right now.
But also, like, most couples that have jobs that are not social media are usually on like maternity leave or paternal leave.
At 38 weeks.
Yeah, so I don't feel stressed in having to put up content. I know Dan really wanted to.
What we're in, like the fact that we do this, we do on a certain level owe it to you guys.
Oh yeah,
100%. To stay current and to stay updated, because I've been subscribed to YouTubers who legitimately just ghost and they never come back and there's no update, and it's very confusing for someone that you follow.
I mean, at least you guys have me on Instagram. I know you don't post, but for me, I've been keeping you guys very updated with what's been going on Instagram.
Yeah, it helps with Instagram, that's for sure.
So if you guys are not following me on Instagram and you just want to like a little quick background, a week ago on Friday, so today is Thursday that we're filming this, so almost a full week ago, the hospital that we were supposed to deliver at actually put a rule into place that no partners are allowed in labor and delivery as well as postpartum. So we would be delivering, I would be delivering by myself. And when I say by myself, I don't mean by myself.
In a room by yourself.
Yeah, like there's gonna be a doctor that's delivering, they have nurses, like all of that, I'm covered. But the hospital itself is the main hospital for COVID patients right now, and so the hospital is very, very strained. And there's a lot of people being called back into work at that hospital that were on vacation or were busy and they have to go back to work because they need more help. Because for one, a lot of the healthcare professionals are getting sick or they are just overworked and they're tired. The reason why our hospital put this into place was because there had been a few patients, or partners I should say, that were lying about their symptoms, and then the staff found out that they were lying, and like obviously you cannot have that, so they just took a measure to ban all partners altogether to keep their staff safe.
And they're not the only place in the world doing this. There's lots of places doing it. I just feel like it's not the right way to go about this. Delivery is already such an intense, intimate, stressful, risky procedure, right? And so for the women giving birth, if something were to go wrong, like I'm sure you all have stories from your mothers, your aunts, your sisters, whoever, they get injured, they have really rough recoveries, there's no way that the hospital can guarantee a nurse will be there to help
24/7.
24/7.
They will be there to help.
If your baby's crying, needs to be fed, has to be changed, and you're stitched up in bed, can't even walk, how is that supposed to work? You need someone there, whether it's your partner, your mother, your best friend, you need someone there to help you with that recovery process, especially if things go wrong. If
you have a choice to have someone in there, right? Like
obviously, some women don't want anyone there and they want to go through it independently, and that's totally okay, but to be forced into a circumstance that you weren't prepared for seems so wrong, especially in such an intense part of life.
Also, when there's other options to be done before this measure.
Well, that's my main thing, is we hear stories of other hospitals in Montreal just doing so many other things to keep people safe, because we don't want to neglect the fact that the hospital workers need to be safe, because if they get sick, then we're all screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have to keep them safe, but other hospitals have like stricter rules when it comes to going to your OB's clinic ahead of time. More use of PPEs, even if that's your own homemade stuff, masks and gloves and things like that. Not allowing partners at the OB's office. Some hospitals have better screening processes for fathers and parents coming in for delivery. They have more test kits available. It just seems so weird to me that like one or two dads lied about their symptoms, and then you're just going to punish the rest of the people delivering for what could be the next 2-3 months. It seems very backwards to me.
The only thing I'm thinking is that because it was at least the main hub for COVID, they were focusing more on that
Yeah.
And like all the equipment needs to go to those wards versus all the other hospitals that are not COVID hubs
But then-
have the proper.
This is something that I don't understand why they don't do. Hospitals have been sharing and transferring COVID resources, right? They send ventilators to different hospitals. So why not take maternity equipment from this hospital and give it to another one? And then have...
There's no rooms.
Yeah, but then you take out the ventilator rooms from that hospital and give it to the other one. You just basically trade maternity equipment for ventilator equipment, and you just...
But then the issue is if there's a COVID patient that goes to that hospital.
I know. I'm not saying these are concrete solutions. It just seems to me that there's many steps you could take between normal birth process and then the extreme.
Yeah.
It seems to me like there's a lot of things you could do in between.
I think that they just got scared. It was the first time that this happened, and they were like, absolutely not, this is not happening. Like, we are not risking our healthcare professionals, and just put it in place and was like, sorry. And then our premier, he was asked, like, what is happening with this whole situation? He said, it's only going to be this hospital, and no other hospitals are going to enforce this rule, and like, you guys can transfer, which I think in theory sounds nice, but I think it was a way for him just to kind of
brush the topic off.
Yeah, and ease the public's eye when it comes to, oh, okay, so pregnant women will be able to change, so we don't have to think about this anymore, which is not the case, because I'm in a few Facebook groups. There are so many pregnant women that cannot transfer. I at first thought it was just because I was too far along in my pregnancy, and they're like, we can't take anyone on this month, we're too packed. But no, there's people that are delivering in like months, and like they're not able to transfer either.
It was one thing I was kind of hoping that our leadership would have done, is take a bit of a firmer stance to either say outright that all hospitals are banning partners.
Yeah.
Make it clear. Or say outright that no other hospital is allowed to do this. Concrete rule.
Yeah, like a law.
And then women from this hospital that banned partners can have some kind of ease of process to transfer. And other doctors need to accept them within reason, because you don't want to overwhelm other hospitals. But it just, I don't know, it seems like it was very mishandled, which I know a lot of things in different areas of the world have been, because this is such a weird time that
it's new. Nobody knows.
We've never gone through something like this.
But it is scary for us because we're just in a stage of not knowing. And it's also been hard because I've been getting a lot of backlash for speaking out on this at first, because a lot of people were telling me, like, you're not thinking of the healthcare professionals, you're not thinking about all the people that are passing away. We are aware of this. We know how serious this is, but also mental health is serious as well. Yeah, it might not be immediate death, but it could be death in the long run.
This to me is like one thing that I always find funny is we talk so much in society today about mental health.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you have mental health, it's like you broke your arm.
Yeah.
People need to treat you seriously. It's a real thing. It's just like physical health. But then when it comes down to the nitty gritty, it always gets brushed to the side.
Yeah.
Mental health is like, well, it's whatever, it's fine. People are actually dying. And it's like, so where is that line between us taking it seriously and then us dismissing it? Because that's the biggest thing that I'm worried about. There's so many fathers out there that are going to miss out on this. I've been looking over the last few days, like tons of research about male postpartum depression and how the numbers are showing that it's almost as many men as it is women. Most studies I looked at said 12 to 15% women suffer and 10% of men suffer. Mm-hmm. It's a very similar percentage. One of the main reasons men suffer from postpartum depression is they feel a sense of neglect. And that could be neglect from their wife, because everything becomes about the baby.
Which is not the wife's fault.
No. And
at all.
It could be neglect from people around them, friends, family. Everyone just cares about the baby. Maybe your friends don't invite you out anymore. They don't talk to you as much because you're tired and busy.
Well, it's literally the same for women, right? Like,
yeah, but
neglect.
One of the biggest things for men is they feel neglected from the healthcare system.
Yeah.
They feel like they're not a part of this process, even though it's still their child. And there is a massive difference between not physically carrying and delivering the baby, but at the end of the day, it's still your child. And to be completely brushed aside by the healthcare system, which is what is happening at this hospital, can have massive effects on the men's health.
And think about it like this too. Okay, so Dan was born a male. Like, that's what he was. He wasn't born with...
I could never carry a baby.
He can never get pregnant
Ever.
and carry a baby. So that automatically is taken away from him. Not taken away, but like, he just doesn't have that option. Then when he gets to a place where he can actually have a baby, and he's been involved heavily from the start with his pregnancy, as much as I am, just because he's not physically carrying it doesn't mean he's not mentally in it.
But
and then to be ripped away from this like moment that you've been waiting for your whole entire life because two men lied, and we're getting punished.
It feels
for it.
like for a lot of men this could be very mentally detrimental.
And on top of it, we have been in self-isolation for a month now. Yeah. So we're not sick. We know we're not sick. And we can't see anyone after the baby's born, which, you know, is nice in theory for the first few weeks. But then, you know, then what? We still can't see our family or friends. We're gonna have no physical support. It's gonna be really, really hard on us mentally. And then on top of it, not having Dan there with me during labor and delivery, I couldn't even fathom it.
I mean, women do it.
Oh yeah,
and
we'll be able to do it. It's just not what we want.
It's such a stressful thing to dump on women this last minute. If this was our world norm or where we live, because in parts of the world it is the norm, but if where we lived it was the norm, that men were not allowed to be involved in the process,
yeah,
it would be easier for people to understand that and mentally prepare for that, because you would know growing up as a girl, you're going to give labor without your partner. And if you were a man, you were not going to be involved in the labor. But that's not our reality. And to be dropped, like to have that dropped on you 3 weeks out of delivery, it's been crazy. You know, we've had such a stressful last week.
And then not being able to transfer has been hard too. We've been, I mean, thankful to you guys, honestly. I've been able to get in contact with a few different OBs that are willing to take me on. It's not a confirmation. You know, and the other thing is when we call the other hospitals, they say they might put the same rule into place, because even if our premier says, oh, no other hospitals will adopt this, at the end of the day, it's not a law and it's the hospital's decision if they want to or not.
Yeah.
So we still don't know if these hospitals are going to implement the same rule depending on how COVID cases go. And the only reason why I was able to contact these OBs was because of you guys. So every other woman in my shoes right now is not able to do that, you know, unless, I mean, I've heard stories of them having connections through family members or friends or whatever.
Well,
but
that's what it feels like now, is like the government says that you can switch, but it feels like really the only way you can switch is if you have a connection with someone. If you know a doctor, you know an OB, you know a nurse, you know someone here. And that shouldn't be the way it is. It should be an open opportunity and easy process for women to just switch.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm not going to give up talking about this, even if, let's say for whatever reason I'm able to switch and Dan's able to be there and it's great. I'm not going to stop raising my voice about this because it's not fair.
No.
There's so many women that are struggling right now, and what's happening is a lot of them are assuming that they could just show up in active labor at a hospital, and the hospital will have to take them. But that's not the case here.
But given normal circumstances, that is a solution.
But it's not something you should do.
It's not something you should do, but it is if you're on a day trip, an hour outside the city with your family, you go into labor, you go to a hospital where we are, they're going to take you. It's part of our healthcare system.
Yeah.
They're not going to turn you away. But under these circumstances, that's becoming either not possible or very dangerous, because then the hospitals are already understaffed, overworked, and it just puts a big strain on them.
Yeah, and our OB told us too that, not our OB, sorry, we called another hospital and the woman on the phone told us too that she actually had to turn people away. A woman who was in active labor had to turn her away. And it was so hard for her to do that, but she had to because they had no room and they just can't take you, and she had no files on her. Like, it was just nothing. And even if you have your files, it still has to be looked over. They have to have the proper equipment for you. If you're high risk, then they don't know anything about you. So under the circumstances, it's not something that people should be doing. And I think a lot of women are resorting to either trying to give birth at home alone because they don't want to go without their partner, or they're just planning on calling an ambulance and showing up last minute to a random hospital. That's not good.
As a father, it feels very defeating. I guess I'm not, depending on your beliefs, I'm not technically a father yet, but I kind of am.
Yeah.
It feels so dismissive of my role when it comes to this baby. It's a weird line where it feels like fathers are very easily pushed aside and neglected when it comes to this procedure. But then on the flip side, if there is a father that does not want to be involved, he doesn't have a choice with child support. So it feels like, well, then what are we? Are we the father equally to this child, even though we're not physically carrying it? Or are we not the father and we're allowed to back out or be forced out when it's not our choice? It seems like a very weird thing that I don't think gets talked about very often.
It's morally wrong. That from a lot of you guys that have been messaging me, I've had a lot of people that are in similar shoes to us that are expressing their frustration as well, and they're saying, I can't even imagine not having my partner there. But then I also have people in the healthcare system from around the world messaging me saying that they really disagree with, not us, what's happening right now with the hospital.
Because I even thought about it. This is obviously a much rarer or less numerous situation, but what if you're a gay couple that has a surrogate child? Neither of the fathers get to be a part of this. Neither of them get to see the birth of their child. Are they not parents to this child because they don't get to be there? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, I guess it literally comes down to the health of the baby and the woman, which I understand. What I don't understand is we know we're not sick, so get us tested
better screening, better testing
to prove that we're not sick. And then on top of it, have Dan not leave the room at all. Well, and to be completely honest, if he had something, I for sure have it. So like,
we've lived together for the last month in isolation.
yeah.
Me being there is like her arm being there. Anything she has, we don't have cross-contamination. We are the same entity when it comes to our germs and our virus
Also,
carrying.
who's to say that, I don't want to sound rude or anything, but like the healthcare professionals are dealing with people that do lie. Who's to say they don't have something and give it to me? I'm trusting in going into a hospital knowing that they're not going to give me anything, but I can't trust that because, there are nurses that got sick at this hospital.
But then something you had just mentioned before that would be another good intermediate measure is allowing partners, because it doesn't even have to be a father. If you're a single mother and you want your mother, your best friend,
partner there,
someone
support
there
system
to support you through this process, allow that person in, but you don't leave the room that you're in. It could be 2 days, 3 days, whatever. You deliver and then you get transferred to the postpartum room and you do not leave. They'll bring you food. That's what some hospitals do. They bring you 3 meals, but you do not leave. And if you leave, you can't come back. Sorry, you're not here to wander the halls and touch the vending machines and use the water fountain. You're here to be a support system, and then you leave. That could be a measure. It just seems very strange that the hospital was supposed to deliver.
Well, that's what the other hospitals are doing.
I know, this hospital just jumped to the most drastic measure.
I think they had to because of the cases. The other hospitals haven't had this happen yet.
Because there's so many cases, yeah.
So as long as people are being honest with their symptoms, and this is the other thing that I want to talk about too. So this is not to hate on our OB's office at all. I thought my OB, she was like the best person in the entire world. I freaking love her and I would recommend her to anyone, and I want to go back to her with our second kid. But at her office, there was not really any rules in place. Like Dan was allowed to come with me. No one wore gloves. No one wore masks. There's people in the waiting room. Like it just wasn't, there were no rules. But then as soon as I get an appointment with a different OB, they told me right away.
At a different hospital.
Yeah, at a different hospital. Right away, I have to show up with a mask and gloves. Dan cannot come in the building with me. If I have any symptoms, I have to let them know. I get screened before I go in. And this is just the OB's office. It's a separate clinic from the hospital. But with our hospital, they're like, our OB was dealing with me and Dan, in a room with no gloves and nothing and no mask.
We touched the same door handle multiple times, me and her, and she could have been delivering a baby the next day. So
at the hospital that is not allowing partners.
What difference is me being in the room if she's already sharing my germs? It seems like a very rash and unthought decision.
Yeah.
Unthought immediately, because there's so many different things you could do, but then also not thinking about the long-term negatives that it could bring up.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've spoken to so many doctors and nurses who have DM'd me on Instagram that are working out of hospitals in Montreal, but as well as New York and France and other places in the world, that are saying that we are so justified in how we think because they don't agree with the rules. And in New York, this rule was in place, and then it got reversed because there was enough pushback. Here, I don't think it's going to get reversed at this hospital at this point because they are just, and the woman who implemented the rule hasn't said anything publicly either.
Yeah.
So they're trying to protect everyone, and this is just the decision they're making. And lastly, I just want to say that we understand the severity of this virus. We know how scary it is and how many people are dying from it, and people that are dying without their loved ones, not having a funeral, being cremated against their will. It's horrible, and we think all of that is bad. We're not saying ours is worse than them and whatever. We're not comparing that. It's scary for everyone. I have a family member right now who is currently in the ICU for COVID, and it's scary. And there's a lot that's going on that we're dealing with that is just hard to wrap my head around. We just been getting a lot of hate, and so I took a break from social media for a bit, and now we're back, and it's hard.
But anyways, we just wanted to jump in here and kind of explain why we haven't been vlogging as much. It's been a lot on our plate, and also we just wanted to kind of voice this, get it out there. Hopefully some people see this and it'll help push a little bit of influence. We'll try to come back in the next few days because we do have clips from things we've been doing, and so we'll try to put those together in a vlog and then add a few more over the next few days and try to get back to it regularly, because we also want to keep this kind of in our memory to relive in the future. We could show this kind of stuff to our kid and show how crazy of a time it was when he was born.
Never in a million years would I thought we'd ever be living in a situation like this.
Never in a month. A month ago I never thought it would be like this.
Yeah, literally.
But anyways, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. We'll try to see you guys in the next few days. Share it as much as you can. Yeah, send this to people. Because even if it works out okay for us, I don't want this to be the situation for many other women out there. Exactly. It's tough. All right, guys, stay strong, stay healthy, stay at home, and stay clean. We'll see you guys soon. Bye. Bye.